53 on that first. Sowing in the morning, sowing seeds of kindness, sowing in the noontide and the dewy eve, waiting for the harvest and the time of reaping. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. All right. Oh, hold on, time out. So we did all right on that first verse. I know we just started abruptly, but let's sing it out on that second. We can definitely do better than just me and Pastor singing. So let's sing it out. Here we go on that second. Sowing in the sunshine, sowing in the shadows, fearing neither winter's chilling breeze. By the harvest and the labor ended, we shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, going forth and sowing for the Master, though the loss sustained our spirits often grieves. When our weeping's over, He will bid us welcome. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves, bringing in the sheaves. We shall come rejoicing, bringing in the sheaves. Great singing. You may be seated.
Amen. Well, good morning. It is good to be back, although it's cold. And man, we left, and I thought it was okay, and we're in like 80-degree weather, and we come back, and it's like, what happened? But it's good to be back at church. And so today, it's my pleasure to have Brother Caleb McKenzie, the associate pastor of Bible Baptist Church in Puyallup, with us. I mean, when I say it's my pleasure, it's really my pleasure, because that means I didn't have to study on vacation. So it's really good. But no, it's good to have he and his family here today. Thankful for him and his friendship, and just looking forward to getting preached at. A couple of announcements on the slides. If you had an opportunity to see them, there is a change on the man camp date and location. And it's changed to November 21st through the 23rd. Hopefully that's a better time. I don't know. But and that'll be the week before Thanksgiving, and it'll be in Yelm instead of Goldendale. And so I want to invite everybody out to that. If you have any questions, you can see me. So November 21st through the 23rd. And then there's going to be, I believe, Christelle, a little ladies kind of meeting after the worship service, just kind of final things for the ladies retreat. So excited for that. And sounds like we had a good Sunday last Sunday. And excited for that. Now, Brother Nick and Miss Aaliyah are at Foundation Baptist Church because Pastor Matt is gone today, and I think his preacher, something happened, and his backup preacher, something happened. So he contacted me while I was out, and he's like, can Nick preach for us? And so thankfully he's able to do that. And so let's pray for Nick as well while he's there. But so with that, any other announcements or anything we need to cover? Because I wasn't here, so I don't know. But we're good? All right. So with that, Brother Caleb, why don't you come and just preach for our growth class hour. Amen.
So I'll start off, bear with me a little bit today. Talking to your pastor yesterday morning, I found out I have bronchitis. So yeah, bear with me a little bit today if I stop to cough a little, I will try to keep that to a minimum. Turn your Bibles to Acts chapter 4. It's on? Okay. Wire myself up here. All right, Acts chapter 4. We're going to start reading in verse 1. Oh, thank you very much. I'm having issues here. Okay, we'll stick that in there for now. You know what? Why are my pockets sewn shut? That's not nice. Okay, there we go. Acts chapter 4, starting in verse 1. We're going to read a couple of verses, and then we will skip down, and I'll kind of fill in some of the in-between as well. Really, for what we're going to be looking at this morning, we could read the entire chapter, but that would take way too long, so I'm not going to have us do that. But we'll start in verse 1. It says, "And as they spake unto the people, the priests and the captain of the temple and the Sadducees came upon them, being grieved that they taught the people and preached through Jesus the resurrection from the dead." And we're going to just stop for a half a second before we continue on. Interesting thought there. The religious leaders, and they're grieved that they're teaching Jesus. Continue on with it. "And they laid hands on them and put them in hold unto the next day, for it was now eventide." And we're going to go ahead and skip down to verse 18. "And they called them and commanded them not to speak at all, nor teach in the name of Jesus. But Peter and John answered and said unto them, Whether it be right in the sight of God to hearken unto you more than unto God, judge ye. For we cannot but speak the things which we have seen and heard. So when they had further threatened them, they let them go, finding nothing how they might punish them because of the people, for all men glorified God for that which was done." And let's go ahead and have a word of prayer, and we'll get started this morning. Lord, I want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to be here, to be able to spend the time with this church, Lord, and spend the time in your word. I pray that you will that you'll bless. I pray that you will use me this morning, Lord. Help me not to get in the way of your word and of what you want us to hear this morning, Lord. I pray that you'll just bless and pray this in your name. Amen. This passage that we read, I know we just looked at a small portion of it, but it really is an amazing story. And since we only read a little bit, I'm going to kind of give you the in-between part really quickly. Peter and John are preaching, and they're seeing amazing results. And here's the reality. I was thinking about this while studying for being up here. It is always a blessing to get to preach. But when you're preaching and you can see people being receptive and you can see people responding, it's a whole different thing. When you're preaching and souls are being saved and lives are being changed, it's huge. And that's what's happening in this passage. Peter and John are preaching and seeing major results. Verse 4 tells us that those who heard the word, and not just heard it, but those who heard it and believed, was about 5,000. These two men are preaching, and 5,000 people are getting saved. You know, those are incredible results. If you held a revival here and 5,000 people heard the gospel, we would be amazed. We'd be amazed if 5,000 people came, let alone if they believed what they heard. And they preached, and 5,000 people get saved. But, of course, when you are preaching to that many people, and you have that many people who are hearing and believing the message, there is inevitably many that are hearing and are not believing. And those people who are hearing and not believing usually aren't too happy about the changes that they're seeing. It's going to turn your area upside down if 5,000 people get saved in one revival. And as sad as it is, there are many people that don't want their town, their area changed. And that's true in this passage. And as I pointed out as we read it, the worst part about that is in this passage, it's the religious leaders that are upset about it. It's the religious leaders. It is the people of authority. So they need Peter and John shut up. They need them to stop. These guys are messing up our city. People are going to start changing, and if they change, they're going to see how corrupt these religious leaders are, and it's going to cause us problems. So as we see in the passage, they arrest Peter and John, and most of the section that we skipped is them trying to decide, what do we do? What should the punishment be? I mean, what can we do to quiet these guys? We have to do something, but how can you really punish someone for preaching Jesus? This is hard. So how do you punish someone just for teaching something you don't agree with? And the fact that Peter and John now have 5,000 new loyal followers just makes that harder, because any way you choose to punish these men, you're going to have 5,000 unhappy people. That's a problem. So they, in this passage, in the section we skipped, you see they'll come up with an idea, and then they realize, no, we can't do that, or the people aren't going to like it. Well, so they shove that one aside, and they go back and forth, and after much deliberation, they come up with a plan. Let's just threaten them. We'll give them the old, don't do it again or else. And any parent who's ever tried that knows it really doesn't work, because every kid goes, or else what? But they try the don't do it again or else, and send them on their way. The Bible tells us they threatened them, told them not to speak it again, and leave. And the response that was given by Peter and John, to me, is amazing. Their response is I see it as two parts. It is it right that we listen to you or to God? These men as I pointed out, that are threatening them are the religious leaders. I am sure, given the question, should we listen to you or God, every one of them want to say, well, listen to me. But they know they can't. They know they can't. They know better than that. And Peter and John tell them, you be the judge. You tell me what's right here. Is it better that I listen to you or that I listen to God? What a question. I can imagine these religious leaders maybe being taken back, stumbling over their words on this. They try and figure out, how do we answer this? And then Peter and John go into the second part of their response. We cannot but speak the things which we've seen and heard. We cannot but speak what we've seen and heard. These men, remember who they are. They had seen God work. These men, they were two of Jesus' disciples. These men who physically walked with Jesus while he was on earth doing his ministry. They saw with their eyes as Jesus performed miracles. We read about the miracles. They witnessed it firsthand as Jesus performed miracles. They watched him heal. They watched him. Can you imagine, as I was thinking about this, can you imagine what must have gone through their minds as I think of the blind man that Jesus spits in the clay and puts it on the blind man's eyes. Can you imagine what was going through the disciples' mind as Jesus does this? I mean, he just spit in some dirt, rubbed it in his hand, then put it on a guy's face. Jesus finally lost it. I can imagine what's going through their mind. They had to be thinking, what is he doing? And now the man can see. They got to watch this with their own eyes. They got to watch him feeding the 5,000, taking what was an insignificant meal for one boy and feeding a multitude. They saw it with their eyes. They got to watch as Jesus ascended into heaven, but they also got to watch as Jesus worked in their ministries. They had just seen Jesus work in a way like we looked at the start of this, that 5,000 heard and believed. That can be described no other way than God working. These men had seen some amazing things. They had heard some amazing things. Think about again who they are. They heard Jesus himself preach and teach. We read in the Bible about about Jesus preaching and teaching, but they got to hear it with their own ears. Not just the messages to the multitudes, but as he would pull his disciples aside, they heard that, hearing right out of the mouth of the Son of God. But also think about this, kind of from the harder side, they heard the crowd yelling, "Crucify him," with their own ears. And I know this might be a slight stretch. Give me a little bit of grace here. They heard the nails being driven into his hands and feet. These men had heard and seen some amazing things, and those things affected them in a way that they realized they couldn't help but tell people about it. What they had seen and heard had affected their lives in a way that they realized, I can't help but tell someone. You think about it. When something is important to you and I, we talk about it. If it's a big enough deal to us, we talk about it. You give the example of when a boy meets a girl and they fall in love. If you try talking to either one of them about anything, it does not matter what the conversation is. Something in the conversation will remind them of the one they love, and it won't be long before the conversation has shifted and that's who they're talking about. It's inevitable. It's going to happen because that person is important to them, so they talk about it. A person who has a hobby that they really enjoy, they talk about it constantly. Someone who likes fishing tells fishing stories constantly because they like fishing. Sounds like there might be some of that going on here. But someone who enjoys fishing, it's exciting. They're going to tell you, how huge the fish was, even though it was really only 3 inches long. They're going to tell you about this fish they got. And, if they take a picture, now people have got good about long-arming it, so the fish looks a lot bigger than it really was. But they're excited about it, so they talk about it. People who like sports are going to talk about a good game. It's exciting, so they talk about it. I don't get this one, but women who like shopping talk about a good deal. I don't understand it. They're like, I bought this thing for half of what it would normally be. I just like the fact that I saved some money on it, but it's exciting, so they talk about it. And I could go on and on with examples. I don't want to, bore with this idea, but the point is that when something is important enough to you and I, we can't help but talk about it. When something is a big enough deal, it's automatic. We're going to talk about it. It's not that we're trying to be obnoxious and only focused on one thing. It's just I can't help it. It's what's happening here. They are telling these religious leaders with the things that we have been privileged to see and the things that we have been privileged to hear, we can't help but talk about it. To me, what's most amazing about this response from Peter and John is that this isn't the only time that we see this from them. Look over at Acts chapter 5, verse 40. Just over one chapter. Verse 40 and 41. And to him they agreed, and when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Jesus and let them go. Now listen, they pull them aside again. They've commanded them. They've beaten them. Verse 41, and they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. Verse 42, and daily in the temple and in every house they ceased not to teach and preach Jesus Christ. These same two men, a very, very similar situation is one chapter later. This time the religious leaders say, well, just threatening them didn't work, so now we're going to threaten them and beat them and send them out. And the response, they ceased not. It didn't stop them. They knew that what they had to say was important enough that it was worth whatever the world could throw at them. They recognized what we have seen and heard is a big enough deal. This is worth telling. Here's where I'm trying to get with this, that we ought to, as Christians, we ought to have that same outlook. We ought to have that same excitement. It should not be that as a Christian we have to be begged and pleaded with to be a witness. Should not be as a Christian that, it has to be drug out of us to be a witness to someone. It should be that the things that you have seen and heard are exciting to you. It should be that the things of God are so exciting to us that we can't help but tell someone about it. And that it doesn't matter how we may be treated. It doesn't matter how what might happen to us. We are going to keep telling what God has done because we have seen and heard some amazing things. I know each person, the list could be a little bit different. Let's take a few minutes, let's look at, a few kind of examples that I think could relate to pretty much everyone in here. We have seen God change our lives. We've seen the change that happened in our life when Jesus came in. I grew up in a pastor's home. I was saved at a young age. I used to think this was a negative. I used to think it was a negative that I didn't have, that cool testimony that a lot of people did of, I was living this wicked life and God saved me out of it. I grew up in a pastor's home. I was saved at 3 years old. You're not, at 3 years old, you're not that, what we consider in these wicked sins. I was a sinner, no doubt, but wasn't mixed up in a lot of the things others do. But I can, I gave this example at our church recently. I can look at my extended family, and I can look at, I work construction. I can look at the guys in the construction fields that I work with and see the wreck that my life would have been. And I know, had it not been for the change He made in me, that would be me. I can see the change that He made me. I can see how He works in my life, both in the ways that He blesses me, that I'm going to kind of get into in in the morning service. I don't want to get ahead of myself in it, but I can see Him work in my life in the way that He blesses, and also in the ways that I guess the things that I struggle with that He's working on in my life. We can see, we can hear the testimony of others who God has done mighty things through, and those things that I have seen and the things that I hear should excite you and me enough that we should say, I can't help but to tell people. I can't help but to share what I have seen and heard. Now I give all of that as introduction to set up this morning's lesson. 3 reasons why, I'm just going to put it this way, why our message is so important. Why it is, we've looked at, it ought to be that we should be able to say, I can't help but to tell people. 3 reasons why it is so important for us to do that. First is simply this: it's commanded. We know our Great Commission. It's not new to any of us. I'm going to turn over there real quick. I forgot, as terrible as this sounds, your preacher's up here. I forgot my Bible, so I have to use my technology with me. That's wonderful. I remembered my notes. I forgot my Bible. Our Great Commission, though, when Jesus came and spake unto them, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and earth. Go ye therefore and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. It's familiar to us. We know the Great Commission as a Christian. It is our marching orders, where it's clearly telling us that we are to go and to tell. You notice reading the Great Commission, I don't know if any of you have ever caught this. He never says please. Right? He doesn't say, would you please go and tell? He doesn't say, if you feel like it, you can be a witness. Go and tell if people don't scare you, or if it's a big enough deal to you. it's really not an optional thing. It's a command. It's an order. I think of a guy in the military. If a commanding officer gives an order, you don't tell the officer, sorry, I don't feel like doing that. I know it's your order, and I know that you want me to, but I don't think it's what I want to do, so I'm not going to. It's not going to go over well. It's an order. A parent, you tell your child, go clean your room. If you parent anything like I do, if I tell my kids go clean their room, that's not an option. At least not in our house. I'm not asking them if they want to clean their room. I'm informing them they want to clean their room. That's just kind of how it works in our house. When I tell them to do something, it's an order. A boss, if your boss says, I have a job for you to do, I want you to do this, and you say, well, no, I don't want to, it doesn't really go over well. I am a plumber. I had a guy working with me right now who he got a job. He's 18 years old, wanted to be a plumber, but he's afraid of spiders, which I don't know how much you know about plumbing. Spiders are about everywhere we go. I mean, that's just kind of what we deal with. So the first day that he worked with me, we got ready to go into a crawl space, and I opened it up, and he stuck his head in, and he pulled his head back out and said, there's spiders down there. Okay. He goes, I'm scared of them. It's kind of one of those, well, this is your job. You're going to have to. I was proud of him, 18 years old, and he goes, okay, I'll do it, but if you hear me cry, don't judge me. He did it, but because when your boss tells you do something, you do it. If your boss tells you do something, it's just, it's not really an option. Here's the thing, though. So you wouldn't do that to your boss. You wouldn't tell your boss, no, I know you want me to do this, but I don't. You wouldn't, as a kid, you wouldn't tell your parents, I know you want me to do this, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. If you were in the military, you wouldn't tell your commanding officer, I know that's an order, but I don't want to do it. But so often it's what we do with God. We know it's our job. We know it's our great commission, our orders. It's nothing new to any of us here. This sounds, I guess, I'm going to be brutally honest, but if we're honest, though we know our great commission, very seldom do we do it. Very few go and tell. If we did, churches like this would be overflowing every week. But it's not an option. It's not a request. It's not asking if you'd like to. He's commanding. It ought to be that we cannot help but to go and tell what we've seen and heard in part because it's our command. Then, number two, it ought to be that we cannot help but go and tell because of its need. Our world needs the message that you and I have. They don't realize that. They don't think that they want it, but our world needs what you and I have. We look at the world that we live in, and you can't help but recognize there's something wrong. Even people who are not in church, even lost people look and see it's a mess. So they love to give labels to things. They love to give an excuse for everything. We look around and we see the drug problem. We see the homelessness problem. We see the abortion problem. We see the divorce problem. We see political problems. But all of those can simply boil down to one. There's a sin problem. Because the world needs the message that you and I have. You have what this world needs. You having the message and not telling it would be like having food in a country full of starving people and refusing to share. It's more than just food. It would be like you knowing where there is an endless supply of food, but refusing to tell anyone else. You having this message, knowing about salvation, you having this message and not sharing would be like having the cure for cancer and not giving it to people. We are in a world that is dying in their sins, and we have the cure. Our world needs the message that we have to rescue them from hell. The only hope that they have to be rescued from an eternity in hell is the message that we have. We in here, we know that there is no other way. God's word makes that clear. Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me." That makes it real clear. There's no other option. The only way that they can be saved from hell is to know what you know. They need the message to be saved from hell. They need the message to be freed from their sin. People are entangled with sin. They're stuck in it, so bound up that they can't get out. And the reality is, the more that they try to get out on their own, the deeper and the more stuck they become. Have you ever had something like that, something that you are stuck in, and you think, well, I can get out of this, and the more that you try, the more you get stuck. I think it was last week before, I was hiking through the woods, and I stepped in a muddy spot. I was moving along at a pretty good pace, and I stepped in a muddy spot, muddy enough that as I stepped out, my right shoe just stayed right there in the muddy spot, which then meant I was stepping in the next muddy spot with nothing but socks on, and I thought, well, I can get my shoe out, so I went back and nearly lost my other one trying to get the first one out, because I thought, I can get out of this. But the more I tried, the worse it got. People are stuck in their sin, and they try to get this thing fixed in their life just to lose another. I remember as a kid, we were picking blackberries, and my brother had a great skill at getting me to do all the things that he didn't want to do. He's my older brother by 2 years, somewhere in there, I was the little brother that wanted to trust his older brother, so I would do it. I quite often as a kid got in trouble because Bo and I would go out together. We lived out in the country, and Bo and I would go out together, and Bo would come back clean and I would come back filthy, and my parents said always I would get in trouble because, well, why is Bo clean and you're so dirty? What they didn't see is we'd be walking along and Bo would say, "Caleb, walk there." And walk there meant I was in waist-deep mud, and for some reason I listened to my brother because I wanted to trust him. But so when we would pick blackberries, it was very often that Bo would say, "Those ones back there in the middle of the blackberry bushes, those are the best ones. But I can't get there. You should, Caleb." And being the trusting little brother, I would. And if you've ever been in blackberry bushes, you know once you're in the middle, you're stuck. You're stuck. And those thorns, they grab on your clothes and all that. And the more you try to get out, you think, oh, I'm going to pull this one out. And in doing that, you have 4 more stuck on the other arm. And the more you try to get free, the more stuck you get. That's how people are in their sin. They're all wrapped up in them and trapped, and the more that they try to get away, the more that they try to break free, the more they think, oh, I can get this one taken care of, the more stuck they become. And the only way that they can get free from their sin is the message we have. The only one that can free them from their sin is Christ. The message that we have is needed, so we cannot help but speak what we have seen and heard because it's commanded and it's needed. And then lastly this morning, and I'll keep this brief, lastly, because we are excited. And I know I spent a lot of time in the introduction on this, so I'm really not going to right now, but when we truly are excited about something, we won't be able to help ourselves. It's just going to happen. It will come out. That we have to tell what we've seen and heard. I want to end this morning kind of posing the same question, I guess, that Peter and John asked these religious leaders. You be the judge. Is it better to listen to God or man? Because man is happy to tell you to keep quiet about the things of God. Man is happy to tell you that if you talk about God, or if you invite people to church or anything like that, that it's hate speech or anything like that, because they want to be able to push, I guess, their agenda, but want you to stay quiet. That's what's happening with Peter and John. Man was telling them, keep quiet, and they refused. Just being honest here, the world is telling Christians, keep quiet. They don't want to hear. But that doesn't change the fact that it's our command and that it is so needed in our world. Just the fact that they are telling you, Christian, keep quiet, we don't want to hear it, doesn't change the fact that we're still commanded to and that it's so needed. So, who will you hearken to? Here's what, as I studied for this message and prepared for this, what the thought that kept coming to my mind. Let's get the mindset. Let's ask God to give us the strength to leave with the mindset that I cannot help but to tell. Not leaving here saying I ought to tell, not leaving here saying I should go to work and be a witness, not leaving here with any of that sort of thought, leaving with the mindset that I can't help but tell. Because there is a difference. There's a difference between my pastor says I should tell and because of what God has done in my life, because of what I've seen, because of what I've heard, I can't help but tell what God has done for me.
Last Sunday, I was at Amazing Grace Baptist Church in the North Shore of Kauai, and I met a man named Andy. Their pastor had been out for a couple weeks, but he'd been coming there, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. Adam, thank you. And he got saved 2 weeks ago. You know, it was a blessing talking to that guy. And it's not like, you know, he has a lot of stuff he needs to work on, and God's working on him, I'm sure. But you know what was neat is he was genuinely excited. He was excited of what God was doing in his life. And, you know, the change of, man, I didn't like Christians, and I thought this and I thought that, but now I understand. And just the excitement was so refreshing. And I just came away thinking, man, we need that. We need to be excited about what God has done, about what God can do. Because I almost said Andy again. Adam knew there was some stuff in his life that needed to continue to change, and he was excited because he believed God could do it, right? And he knew that there were people in his life that needed what he just got, and he was excited because he believed God could do it. You know, exactly what we just heard from Brother Caleb. Man, we need to be excited. And if we're honest, we can lose that, right? And we go to church and we try and be good Christians and try and do what we ought to. But man, we ought to be excited about what God has done and what God can do. But God wants to use you, and that also should be exciting. So why don't we go ahead and dismiss? We got about 15 minutes before